The views and opinions expressed in this show do not represent those of Cal State Fullerton, the College of Health and Human Development, or the Kinesiology program.
Ready, aim, fire.
Welcome to Kinesiology 101, the podcast for kinesiology majors by kinesiology majors. Every week we bring you a new and exciting guest with tons of knowledge and experience both in and outside of the classroom here at Cal State Fullerton. Cool. We're back here at Kinesiology 101. I'm Jose.
This is Luis, and today we have Collin Meeves joining us. He's a kinesiology student. He's a CrossFit athlete as well. He actually competed in the games, right?
Regionals in 2013.
Regionals in 2013. So thanks for joining us, Collin.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Colin's best known as the CrossFit guy here in the
Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah.
So we all met, I think, in last summer, sports nutrition.
Sports nutrition with Dr.
Yeah, 470.
And then I had Collin for program design.
Yeah, and 450.
For the most part.
I remember when I first met Collin, it was during the summer, right? But I didn't know who you were because you were sitting in the back, kind of just on your laptop. I'm like, okay, he's just another key student, whatever. But then, like, one day you showed up to class with, like, an Easy E shirt.
Yeah. I got my Easy E shirt. I got my Notorious B.I.G. shirt.
Nice.
As soon as I seen that, I'm like, I gotta add this guy on Facebook. This guy knows what's up.
You're not the type of guy that listens to that.
No, I probably don't look the part, but that's basically all I listen to. I like that 90s hip-hop and West Coast hip-hop.
Okay. Yeah. So you're probably gonna go watch the movie, the NWA movie then?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I saw the trailer for that. I'm gonna go see it.
Nice, cool.
So, before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, how you got to school here, why you were a kinesiology major, why you declared a major as a kinesiology major, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, honestly, I grew up down the street from here. I grew up in Yorba Linda, and the high school I went to was just over here in Placentia, so like right down Yorba Linda Boulevard, 5 minutes down the road. I grew up playing a ton of sports. Honestly, when I was younger, I grew up playing baseball and basketball mostly, but I also, I played soccer, I played football, I did taekwondo, I did BMX racing, I did a wide variety of things growing up, but once I kind of got into the, realm of middle school, I narrowed it down to baseball and basketball. I was playing on AAU basketball team, I was playing travel baseball. And then once I got to high school, my freshman year, I played baseball and basketball still. I actually made JV as a freshman with basketball, but after my first year of baseball, I kind of just fell in love with baseball a little bit more and decided to take my route and just play baseball only. Actually right now looking back at it, one of my biggest regrets was quitting basketball. I would have loved to still play two sports and maintain that throughout my high school career, but once I graduated from El Dorado, I went to Irvine Valley College for a year. I'd been recruited to play baseball there. Once it got close to the beginning of the school year, I kind of got burnt out and was just kind of overplaying. I didn't have that passion for it anymore. So once that happened, I had been not playing for about 2 months, and then I went to my high school I played at and asked them if they needed a coach. So I actually ended up coaching my first year out of high school. I coached the freshman team, and then after that, I transferred to Fullerton College, and then I tried to get back into playing. And I'd actually been on the team. I was doing well, and then I had recurring arm problems throughout my baseball career, and they started to happen again. So they ended up redshirting me that year, and I went back and coached baseball again at El Dorado. And then basically during that time when I redshirted is when I got introduced to CrossFit. But
which was
we'll say
how long ago?
That was in 2011. Yeah, 2011. Okay. So once I got started with that, I actually started dabbling that. And while I was coaching baseball, just kind of doing it for fun and getting in shape for when I got back into baseball. Yeah. And once I got back into baseball and started playing again, and my arm was good, but then I was just kind of over baseball at that point. Yeah. Decided to hang the cleats up and start pursuing CrossFit as a competitive thing. So,
what position did you play in baseball?
Growing up, I was an infielder and a shortstop. I also pitched, and then once I got to high school, for whatever reason, when freshman year rolled around, I was like, you know what, let's go play the outfield.
Yeah.
So I went out and played the outfield, and I basically was more of like a left fielder, center fielder. My senior year, I was a center fielder mainly, and then.
There's a lot of time to think, huh? When you're an outfielder, you
that's the one
like,
thing.
I should probably do CrossFit. That's what you said.
But that was the one thing though that was kind of a drawback to me is like, you playing basketball too. It's a constant. You're always involved in a game with baseball, and especially in the outfield. You're so far away from the pitcher, the hitter, and everything like that. It actually is kind of more demanding in the sense that you have to keep yourself locked in, especially as a center fielder, and you're playing a game, and especially in center field, you're kind of the leader in the outfield. So especially behind the pitcher, you can see the catcher's sign. So your objective as a center fielder is to see where the catcher is calling the pitches, what pitches he's calling, so that way you can kind of adjust, and you give your left fielder, your right fielder kind of the heads up on what's coming, maybe shade over one way, back up another way. So you kind of give them the idea of where they're trying to pitch this guy and where they're trying to get him to hit the ball for the most part. So like for me, it took until about my senior year for me to realize that, and really take that craft and really try to apply myself to it. And center field for me was the most fun. It was tougher when I got into the JC level with my arm strength and everything like that, but it is the most fun for me to play. It's the most athletically inclined position that was in the outfield for the most part, so it's cool.
Right, so after Valley, that's when you decided to hang the cleats and just start?
No, I went to Irvine Valley my first year, and then I went to Fullerton College my second and third year of JC, and then my beginning of my third year of JC is when I was like, all right, I'm kind of over this baseball thing, and I actually ended up coaching that year as well since I wasn't playing anymore. And that's when I started coaching. We had a middle school feeder program as well, so I started coaching the middle school level kids as well as the freshman level. And then that year I stopped coaching at the high school, and then the year after I still continued to work with the middle school age kids. Just coaching at a high school, you paid by stipend, and you get paid at the end of the semester, and when it breaks down, your pay is really not much good for the amount of time that you put in with practices and games and extracurricular stuff like that. So that's just kind of when I evaluated it, and I had other opportunities of starting to work at the gym and stuff like that. Cool. So once that kind of arose, then I had to kind of choose, and we can kind of save some of that stuff or where that led me into kind of coming here.
We'll just dive into it right now. So what was your first experience as a CrossFit? You said you were offered a job at the gym, a CrossFit gym, and you kind of started doing CrossFit? Or?
Yeah, no, actually my first experience was while I was playing baseball at Fullerton College. One of our assistant coaches that was also acting as our strength and conditioning coach. When at the JC level, you don't have a separate strength and conditioning coach. So when we'd go to the weight room, we would just do your standard stuff for baseball. There'd be some strength movements in regards to hitting your squats, and we also did some power cleans and stuff like that. But for the most part, is a lot of hypertrophy work. Doing sets of 8 to 12 reps, and then you would kind of get yourself down to the 5-6 rep range every once in a while. But leading into one of the days in our off season, our coach is like, okay, when you guys come in tomorrow, we're going to be doing a different type of workout than we had normally done. And at that point in time, I didn't really know what CrossFit was, but some of the guys on my team knew what it was, and they knew that that's the kind of workout that we we're going to be doing. So I kind of showed up, and at that point in time, I thought I was in good shape. I worked out outside of practice, but I went to LA Fitness. I didn't really. I thought I knew what I was doing based off of what I was doing in high school, but just like everyone in the kinesis and strength conditioning field, at one point in time, you were just not doing what you thought you were doing. But anyways, we go into that day, and I remember that day is we did a couple barbell movements with like some type of running with it, and that was my first experience with the CrossFit workout, and our whole team, that just the rest of the day, because we had lift and then we'd have practice after for like another 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, that day was not fun. Let's just say that. We were all pretty beat after that. That was my first CrossFit workout, if you want to call it that. And then after that, once I redshirted, I just happened to be driving to LA Fitness one day, and I was going to lift on a Sunday, and just keep myself in shape and trying to get my arm healthy and get it strengthened up. And then I happened to drive by, and right next to the LA Fitness, across the street in an industrial park, I saw CrossFit, logo sign. So I was like, that can't be it. There's no way, because I'd kind of done some research prior to that and like kind of looking into it, trying to find a gym. And, the funny thing is, I was like, all right, so I pulled out of the LA Fitness parking lot, went over to industrial park to go look inside and see what I could see. And I look inside, and, I saw some hours on the door. It's just in a paper just taped onto the door. Mm-hmm. And I look inside and I see some pull-up bars in there and I see some open space. Like honestly, that size of a gym was maybe 1,000 square feet at the most. It was really small. So I looked inside and I was like, hey, I guess that's a CrossFit gym. So I saw the hours and, I went to LA Fitness after and worked out. And then the next day I went in when you said they would be open, and I walked in. I saw the owners there. They're just kind of sitting on the couch, and just I was like, hey, are you guys a CrossFit gym? And they're like, yeah, we are. And so I was kind of talking to them, and then by the end of the week, I ended up going in and trying it out and seeing what it was all about. And that kind of started the whole journey right there. And basically, once I went in and tried it out for the first time, I didn't really go back to LA Fitness after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was kind of the end of that. I mean, I still have my past there. I go swimming. I go swimming there every once in a while, but that's kind of just to supplement my training more than anything. Yeah, that was my first experience. Was basically on a baseball team, and then went in and tried it on my own. That's the second time.
I'm pretty sure CrossFit is a whole different type of training. How would you describe the transition from typical baseball training to CrossFit? I'm sure it's a whole 360.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just understanding range of motion and finding out that you should squat, and there's a proper way to squat, and squatting below parallel. I had never squatted below parallel. With our baseball coaches, just kind of acting as strength and conditioning coaches, whether it was in high school or in junior college. There's not really too much technique covered, and it's just kind of like, hey, don't squat below parallel, it's bad for your knees. When you're bench pressing, don't go below parallel, or don't go below 90 degrees because it's bad for your shoulder and stuff like that. So that was common misconceptions that I had built in my head just because that's what I've been taught, and transitioning into working out at a CrossFit gym is, contrary to what a lot of it is said, is that, I was broken down and literally no weight, just teaching myself how to do a proper body weight squat. The owners worked with me for quite a while on that. I'm not gonna lie, when I went in, I was pretty stubborn. I thought I knew what I was doing, but hey, I was 19, 20 years old when I first started doing it. So what 19, 20-year-old doesn't really think that they know everything,
Exactly.
So when I went in,
go ahead.
When I went in, it's like the transition for me was just getting used to proper movement more than anything, and being basically reintroduced to exercise in a sense, and understanding that there's this whole realm of movement that I didn't really participate in or understand. Even playing baseball, I never did a snatch or anything like that. So the extent I had was what I thought was a hang power clean, and which was probably just a terrible version of it at the time going into CrossFit. So, a lot of the transition for me was just understanding that there's this whole different side of training that I'd never been exposed to, meaning the weightlifting movements and running all the time, and not necessarily all the time, but more often than the 0 times a week that I was running at that point in time. And honestly, the lack of lower body training that I did, because when you're a senior in high school and you start training, it's all about that bench press and bicep curl and workout and everything, so you neglect the lower body. So for me, is that realization that, man, I really don't have that strong of legs, and I gotta understand how to squat and build that leg strength up, and deadlift, and get those foundational movements down for the most part.
So would you say all that variation, whether it was gymnastics, Olympic lifting, all that put together was really what captivated you to come back and kind of enjoy CrossFit?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. When talking about the training that I did for baseball is very specific towards baseball, in the sense of my high school coach had pulled it out of this book that, they go to these conferences throughout the year where these college coaches and, there's guys I don't know if you guys know who Eric Cressy is, but Eric Cressy, the guy that is a strength coach, but he's really into the baseball world. And, there's guys like that present there, and they kind of get books by them, and that are just pre-written programs for the most part of guys that are in off season, that are minor league players. It's a strength program for them to follow, essentially. So there was some variation to it, but I would say the thing that really appealed to me was the variation to it. Understanding that gymnastics is a very great tool for building bodily awareness and proprioception. And the thing that also after a point in time that kind of appealed to me was like, there's no mirrors, like you're dependent upon understanding how your body's meant to move and really get the feeling of movements down, as opposed to looking at it and saying, hey, this is what I look like when I do it, and you're relying only on what you see as opposed to what you're actually feeling as in regards to how your body's moving, how it's meant to move, and what it actually feels like to go through a proper squat, So for me, that was also another thing that kind of appealed. And the other appealing thing to it was, like at that point in time, CrossFit wasn't very big. So our gym was very small, like we maybe had 50, 60 members at the most. And that's probably being generous at that point in time as to how many we had at that gym. But it's like you go to a class and, everybody knows everybody at the gym, and people pretty much welcomed us with like open arms, like they just talked to us like, hey, it's you guys finally stuck around, you guys are actually still here. And it's cool because it's, for myself, I joined with my best friend at the time, Aaron, and we're 19, 20-year-old kids, so we're still kind of shy. We're not really personable, and these people are talking to us, and we're working out at the same time as someone that's in their mid-40s, someone that's in their mid-30s. So it was just a really cool experience to me, something I never experienced before. Nice. So that was those things right there. I know I touched on a lot, but that was what was really appealing to me.
And then after that gym, you went to that's the gym.
That is Resolution CrossFit, yeah.
Right? Oh, so that is the same one?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the same gym.
That's the one you started with, and that's the one you're at now. That's awesome. So I'm sure you guys have expanded now since 2011.
Yeah, and they basically had been open for maybe a little bit over a year by the time my buddy and I had joined. So, it was still a new gym, but at the same time, I think they opened up their doors in like February 2010. So now it's been just over 5 years for them.
Yeah. Resolution in Yorba Linda, right?
Yeah, Resolution CrossFit in Yorba Linda, right off of Imperial Highway and Prospect.
Cool.
Like I said, ironically, there's a LA Fitness right on the corner, and you go deeper into the cool part of the street down there in the industrial complex is where our gym's at. And we, over time, we've expanded from, like I said, that gym was maybe 900,000 square feet to now we have about 9,000 square feet of open space and 10,000 square feet, including our office. That's the building that we work out of now currently.
Yeah. So you've seen a lot of changes go down over the years at that CrossFit. But with that in mind, I mean, when you first went into your first workout, you probably weren't aware of like the coaching style or how knowledgeable the coaches were, right? But now that you've got your education here, strength and conditioning, you've seen a lot of coaches probably come and go. Mm-hmm. How would you say that as far as the knowledge of the coaches, how has that been?
It's actually kind of funny is like we actually haven't seen a lot of coaches come and go. We have two owners who were the only coaches at the time at the gym, and then my buddy and I are coaching there now, and we're the only coaches that have ever existed at the gym. So, it's a very small population that I actually was exposed to. But the cool thing is that's actually joining that gym is what kind of set me in the direction. Like I wanted to major in kinesiology. I kind of knew that in high school. Like I remember as a sophomore, you take those ASVAB tests and stuff like that to kind of tell you where your interests lie. And it always somehow put into that area of sports and, coaching and stuff like that. So I had an idea that I wanted to major in kinesiology, but I didn't know specifically what it was. I didn't know what exactly it entailed and all the sub-disciplines. But, kind of going back into your question is like the coaches there and the owners that are now my bosses and good friends of mine, like they helped kind of set this foundation for me to understand about caring about how people move and teaching proper movement, and that's what makes a gym successful, as well as other factors, but, laying a foundation for people and seeing how it changes their lives in many different facets, like them learning how to do a squat properly can help them do so much in their life. But, I'd say they had a great influence on me in regards to really pursuing the field of, strength and conditioning coach and personal trainer. But, we like to refer to ourselves as coaches at the gym, and I feel that's a good term to coin for ourselves is that, you're coaching people. You're not just training them, but you're coaching them and teaching them about movement, basically. And I mean, that's what our field is basically comprised of, is human movement,
right? Yeah,
the study of it. So,
do they ever ask you for any input, knowing that you're a Kinesiology major?
Yeah, you know, like as it's kind of grown, I mean, of course, when you're first getting into the field, like when I first started coaching there, like everything for me, you know, in regards to not playing baseball anymore and kind of transitioning to this, kind of like literally fell in place all at the right time. Yeah. Like once I finished playing baseball, within the next year, they had talked to us in April 2012. So I'd been at the gym for just over a year at that point, and they had talked to my buddy and I at the same time. It was like, hey, you know, we want to kind of get you guys starting to intern some classes and, you know, see how we like to run our classes and how we like to approach people. And, you know, comes June, July, somewhere around there, we want you guys to start coaching classes here. So, you know, like this kind of lead into a good story here. So when we first started coaching, I forget honestly your question that you asked, but about how they asked us for our input. Yeah. So I'll get to that. But basically, when we first started coaching, you know, it started in July of 2012. We had been interning for a couple months and kind of being under their wing while they're coaching classes. And the cool thing is we started out as clients at the gym, you know, so we experienced them as coaches, and we had been around the gym for over a year at that point. And them, as well as some other people from the gym, like I want to say like 4 or 5 couples from the gym, had all gone on vacation to Hawaii. So my buddy and I were left to run the gym by ourselves for 2 weeks. So that was kind of our first experience with coaching, is like, hey, all right, you know, we had been there, we felt comfortable, we knew everybody at the gym, but it's like, all right, well, man, we got to run the gym too, we got to clean the gym, we got to do all that stuff. So I you know, like I said, it fell into place well, because where I was leading to with that is that July, and then leading into the next month, August, was when I started going to school here at Cal State Fullerton. So that's when I started taking my Kines 202 class and Kines 210, where you're taking some of your prerequisite classes, but kind of getting introduced to the field. So coming into it, I already kind of had this passion, or newfound passion, for strength and conditioning, CrossFit, for, you know, fitness and health, and, you know, kind of led into my first semester here. So once I took Kines 202, that's when I was like, man, this is really cool. And I learned about the different sub-disciplines, and that's when I found out about the special studies track with the strength and conditioning classes that led to, you know, basically preparing you for your CSCS. So I was like, all right, you know, this is exactly what I want to do. So I started taking classes towards that. And then that's kind of leading into this is, you know, when I started taking some of my classes that first semester, I took Kines 320, which is techniques of exercises. Yeah, I forget what the exact title is, but you learn about all the different exercises. And, you know, for me, it's like, you know, I kind of had a good idea of these exercises coming into it, and I felt I had a good amount of knowledge, but taking that class is like, man, I was kind of behind the curve, because I hadn't taken movement anatomy yet. I hadn't taken biomechanics and stuff. So like the exact terminology of external rotation, this and all that stuff wasn't really in my head yet. And so taking that class was kind of a big eye opener for me, but starting to take those classes and then being able to talk to my owners and my employers and the head coaches at the gym, like telling them what I'm learning. So during that time, basically my buddy and I have been able to put a lot of input into the gym and how we actually run the gym as a business, how we run it as a whole, and as well as how we, you know, run our classes and you know, teach movements and stuff like that. So our input is definitely valued there, as well as kind of collectively putting together as a coaching staff with 4 coaches. We can always work together as far as like, you know, you want to have common things that you're cueing people on, that one person's not cueing someone in a different way, and trying to coach this movement in a different fashion, where we try to get everything on the same page in regards to how we're coaching athletes, you know, because people, different coaching styles work, but at the same time, you have to have common terminology that you're using with people, so that way it gets through to them. Because one person may be coaching this class, say the 9 a.m. class on a Monday, and then the same person that was in that class shows up to the 9 a.m. class on Wednesday, and it could be a different one of us coaching. So we want to make sure that we're on the same page and terminology and stuff that we're using. So, you know, like right now, we basically meet, all 4 of us meet once a month, and we kind of go over stuff as a coaching staff in regards to business and how classes are running and stuff like that. And that's where our input gets put in. And definitely my buddy's a Kines major as well, and going through the same classes. So he goes here as well. Nice. So, you know, our input from what we learn in classes is always inputted into what we're doing with our gym. So
yeah, and you talked briefly about the wanting to do your CSCS or getting your CSCS.
Yeah.
How do most employers, interns, people at your CrossFit gym, are they certified in something else too, or how does that work?
So both of our head coaches and owners, they're married, husband and wife.
Right.
They were both personal trainers at 24 Hour Fitness before they opened up the CrossFit gym. But Vanessa, is actually she has her CSCS. And then, within CrossFit, they have their different certifications for CrossFit gymnastics and like a CrossFit endurance, CrossFit mobility and stuff like that are run by people that are more specialized in that field. So like you get your basic, your level 1, and they have everything through level 2, level 3, level 4 coach certification, and then they have their specialty courses that they offer as well. They offer one in weightlifting, they offer one in gymnastics, endurance, mobility. They have a few different ones that they do. So like they have those specialty certifications as well as their level 1, and she has her CSCS, and they have a couple different other personal training certifications that they had from when they worked at 24 Hour Fitness as well.
Cool. And you're I'm assuming CrossFit level.
Yeah, CrossFit Level 1 is basically the only certification I hold besides I have my ASEP certification for coaches that I had to do when I coached at the high school. Currently going to find a time to take my CSCS in the next few months. And but basically right now, I've just been working towards finishing my degree and getting the bachelor's degree to my name, because I feel that, and from my personal standpoint, that once you have a bachelor's degree to your name and it's related to what I do in work already, you know, like that's a good foundational thing to have, and you can kind of grow from there. And having the CSCS is kind of an icing on the cake, because all my coursework directs me towards that area, and I've been supplied with the knowledge. I just kind of got to study and review, and some of the other legality issues that they cover on the test is stuff that I just have to review, and terminology that they choose to use for it. Yeah,
I think that if you've taken most of the strength classes here on campus, you're pretty much kind of set to be CSCS certified. You just have to find the time to take it. So your US CrossFit Level 1, how would you compare the differences of what you learn as a CrossFit Level 1 certified trainer or coach, and compared to what we learn here on campus, taking all the strength and conditioning course classes?
To be honest, like for what it's worth in a 2-day setting, like they cover quite a bit of what we touched on in our classes. It's different when you're in a semester-long setting and you have 16 weeks to go over information. So like I know it kind of gets a bad rap as far as their certification process and everything like that, but they've honestly, I took mine back in 2012. And like I said, that was the month or two before I started taking classes here. So it's like the stuff that they were teaching to me was like really cool. They touch on some basics in exercise physiology. They touch on some basics on nutrition and stuff like that. And then also they really break down foundational movements. They have a set of 9 foundational movements that they cover during that, with the basis of those being a, air squat or back squat, however you want to refer to it. Have the front squat and an overhead squat as their like 3 foundational movements, and then they have movements that progress on from that. Like with the overhead squat, they have the snatch. With the squat, they have the air squat. They have the back squat that progresses with it. With the front squat, they have the clean. So like they have their list of foundational movements that they cover. But in regards to what they actually cover in information is relative to everything that we're learning in our classes, but like I said, when you're in a 16-week class, you're able to cover a lot more in-depth material. But the coaching certification classification system for the CrossFit is basically evolved into a 4-step process. So I haven't gone to any of the level 2s, level 3s, or level 4s, but I feel like they probably cover some in-depth knowledge, and definitely where they focus on one of the levels, from what I've heard from other people that have taken it, is they focus a lot on how to view people in a class setting and how to assess their movement and give them verbal cues, tactile cues, and stuff like that, which is stuff that you cover in 450 and 351 and stuff like that. Exactly. Like in 450, every week you had to do a tech WOD, and you had to be able to describe how you would, cue someone in that movement, and how some common mistakes will be made, and how we can assess those common mistakes. Like I feel like they cover that to a good extent, and to an extent that can be covered in a 2-day setting, without having people there for the straight 48 hours and not sleeping and not eating type of deal, you know? Like, so they do a good job in regards to that, like, but it's also just like you learn in class, you know, you have a certain amount of knowledge that can be taught to you by your professors, but you have to go out and explore the world yourself and do your own research and do your own application of stuff. So, you know, like there's a bad rap on CrossFit for not having highly certified coaches, but at the same time, you know, those people, if they were CrossFit certified or if they went through a program like this or just a personal training certification, like who says they're guaranteed to go do their own research and expand their knowledge as a coach, you know, like that's the accountability of the person and the individual as a coach alone, you know. So like there's all tons of sorts of people out there that don't expand their knowledge and try to extend their research on what they know, you know. So I feel that they do a good job to the extent that they can with their 2-day certification process.
NSCA versus CrossFit, it's
I know.
It's real. It's real.
Is that like M&Ms and what's the other one? Skittles or whatever?
Yeah, like I know some of the stuff behind it. I honestly don't know too much about the situation though, but I know there's some
I have no idea.
Back and forth.
The only reason I kind of bring that up is because, I mean, NSCA is what we're pretty much learning, right, from the textbook here on campus, here at Kinesiology program. And so learning all that stuff, NSCA, and then going to a whole different organization of, you know, fitness. It's pretty, you know, it's interesting, right? Because you're getting two different worlds. But I'm glad that you're kind of seeing what works and you're trying to figure it out on your own.
You know, it's kind of funny that you bring that up. Is like the thing I forgot to mention is like the correlation from the material that I learn in classes, and especially from classes like 450 and 470, where you're really diving into some specific and deep knowledge in regards to how the body's adaptation to nutrition and supplementation, as well as, you know, the physiological aspect and adaptations of muscle in regards to response to exercise. You know, taking that information I learned in the classes that we have here, like, a lot of it just blew my mind, especially in a lot of the classes I took with Dr. Galpin, like the in-depth knowledge that he covers, and to the extent that he covers an application of it, like that, those classes, I mean, in all reality, have helped shape me so much more as a coach, because I'm able to take that knowledge and apply it because I'm working at the same time in that field, you know? So like these classes here, in regards to analyzing movement and understanding how the body works and all of that stuff was just so fascinating to me while I was taking my classes here. And it's so fascinating because of the fact that I was able to work in a gym and apply that and work with people every single day, you know? So like the knowledge and the classes that are here, like you really can't beat this atmosphere and this school in regards to the level of the educators that you have and the professors that you have, like their ability to put the work in and really teach you what's proper and how the body responds to exercise. Like, it's worth paying to go to school here and go through the program.
Dude, here I thought Collin was in the back of the class on his laptop playing video games. but no, I totally hear you. Did Dr. Galpin ever give you a hard time being a CrossFit?
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of funny. I guess I should give the background to that. This is also a pretty funny story. So, you know, my first semester here, I had been doing CrossFit for about a year, but I had never really known about the world of weightlifting specifically and the sport itself. So like, but you know, not a lot of people did. It wasn't a big sport, and honestly, CrossFit has helped bring it back up because a lot of people have found like, hey, you know, I don't like this whole breathing hard all the time. I want to go lift some heavy weights and rest a lot in between my sets. So first semester here is actually when I met Eddie, the current president of the weightlifting club, Rudy, and then also Julian. His last name is Ramirez, but I met them all three in Kines 320, and we all happened to be in the same group for teaching our exercises. And I remember one day after class, I was walking with them, just kind of talking, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go to the weightlifting club." So I was like, "Wait, what did you say?" You know, I like to lift weights. And then when they said weightlifting, I was expecting like, hey, because they talked about the upstairs weight room. Right. I think it's like 274, whatever the room is, and I was expecting to be like, oh yeah, we just go in there and do bicep curls and stuff like that. Because, you know, like,
let's go bench press.
Exactly. So I was like, oh, like, what do you guys do then? And they're like, oh, like we snatch, we clean and jerk. And I was like, I was ready to leave and go home. And I was like, wait, I'm gonna go with you guys up there and check it out and see what it's like. So I ended up going up there and Dr. Galpin at the time was in the room instructing the practices, because this was in like the first month that they had been an actual club on campus. Yeah. And I remember talking to them, because I remember they said the first official like mock meet was a week and a half away. And I'm like, I want to go lift in that meet, man. So I went to go talk to Dr. Galpin, and I was like, hey, you know, I want to lift in the meet. Like, what do I need to do with that? And, you know, to be able to do that. And he's like, oh, I haven't really seen you lift yet, you know. So I was like, okay, you know. And then I took my PVC pipe over and started lifting with the guys that were learning the lifts. And, you know, lo and behold, I showed up the next time and the next time. So I showed some persistence, because I'm like, dude, I want to lift in this meet. I just want to see what it's about. And then he actually ended up seeing me lift with lifting some weights and doing my snatch and doing my clean and jerk. And, you know, he ended up telling me like, hey, you know, go ahead and come out and lift. So I ended up being a part of the first official like mock meet for the weightlifting club. So if you actually see the picture of the weightlifting club outside his office, I'm on the flyer, but you won't recognize me because I don't have a beard and I'm like three years younger. But yeah, I ended up lifting in the first mock meet that they had, and you know, like that was great for me, because it really exposed me to understanding the movements a little bit more, practicing them more, to be more efficient at them, you know, and that was really cool for me. And that was my first time meeting Dr. Galpin and actually getting exposed to him, and everyone told me like, hey, make sure you take classes with him. So the entire time when I knew I had to take those classes that he taught, I made sure to wait to get in his classes. And I took 351, 470, and 450 with him as well. So
nice. And then the weightlifting club, that's where I had always seen you, like from then on, always training.
I actually participated in the weightlifting club the first semester that I was a club on campus, and then with my schedule and coming to school and going to work at the gym, you know, like working at the gym, it's always like coaching classes in the morning, training, going to school, coming back, coaching classes, training. So it was a hectic schedule, and my schedule just didn't line up with where they had practice times until last semester. I was able to go in and lift on Tuesdays and Thursdays with them. So I got more involved with the weightlifting club, and, you know, I was able to kind of help out. And if they had a lot of people, you know, kind of help some people out as much as I could. And lift in there. And it's great lifting with people that are in the program and go to school here, because when I'm at the gym, I'm around people of all different ages, and I have my buddy who's the same age as me, but for the most part, I don't get to interact with people on campus. So for me, being a member of the club was phenomenal, because I got exposed to so many more like-minded people and, you know, different ability levels and stuff like that. And it's just so cool to meet people on campus, because I've always lived close to where I went to school, that I was just commuting back and forth, and I never stayed on campus really to get to know people. So weightlifting club for me is phenomenal. I think it's the greatest thing that they could have done, and they've done a great job growing that club into what it is now. So that's, you know, my experience with the weightlifting club has been everything that it should be, and it's great.
Yeah, just being able to relate to the students, because you take classes with them, right? And it's like they get it. They understand it. You guys take the same professor, same classes, and now you're here in the weightlifting club applying it. As opposed to going to like a Bally's or 24 and then trying to explain to your coworkers. Like,
exactly.
Like,
you know,
oh God,
they didn't cover this in that weekend course.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so like for me, working at the gym, like a lot of the people that I train with at the gym, we have a good group of people that train together, and you know, they're just as passionate about weightlifting as they are about CrossFit. You know, so it's like they understand the sport, and I also get to go there and share everything that I learned with them, and it's really cool. You know, like I said, everything's fell into place really nicely for me along my way and to where I'm at now.
Yeah, so you're coaching there now. What are your plans as far as working at that box or just CrossFit in general?
You know, right now we're kind of in a cool stage with the gym itself. You know, I'm finishing this my last semester. I'm taking my swimming class and I walk in May, but basically we're starting to get our foot in the door with corporate wellness. So we have an account already with this beer distributing company that we work with their employees. They have a couple different locations in Southern California, but they actually just recently and are finishing it currently, putting a gym in that they spent over $100,000 on for us to basically, it's a gym in Huntington Beach that's part of their facility, but we get to go there and train their employees and put them through, you know, basically using CrossFit as our methodology for corporate wellness. And we're going to be having about 3 to 4 classes a day there, Monday through Friday. And then, if everything goes well with that, then they also have an office in Florida. They have one in Chicago. So we can basically move on to those and set gyms up there and get people that live out there to work for us in that corporate wellness setting. So that's kind of where we're going with the gym. And, I plan on working with them and trying to help them grow the gym as much as possible. There's a lot of growth in that right now. And then basically right now I'm finishing up, kind of taking the next year off from school just to kind of enjoy the fact that I finished school and just kind of, see how competitive I can be this next year with the CrossFit competitive season and really dedicate myself to solely focusing on that, not having school to worry about. But I want to go back in the next year and start the master's program here and get my master's degree in kinesiology and strength conditioning from Cal State Fullerton. That's down the road where I see myself going. I really want to pursue that road, and that's something I found out my first semester here. And hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be interning with the strength and conditioning program here with Will and Isaac during the summer, and then hopefully, if I can, talk to the guys at UCI. I know they're past coaches here at Cal State Fullerton, and intern with them for a semester, a quarter down there as well. Just see what the collegiate field's like, because I want to see what that's like, and possibly down the line try to work my way into the collegiate field and work with college athletes. I see that very interesting to myself right now, and I'd love to see if that works out and if I really like that or not. Because right now I'm just working with general population people, and I want to see what it's like to work with high level athletes like that.
Yeah, it's interesting too how you were an athlete once, working with those coaches, but not really knowing what they're doing, how they went about getting to where they're at, and now you're trying to kind of
follow in footsteps like that and take a more specific route to just that strength and conditioning field. I coach baseball and it's great, but I find myself much more interested in developing athletes in the strength and conditioning aspect, and I find much more enjoyment out of that now. It just kind of being one of those not necessarily side coaches, but you're not directly involved with their sport performance in regards to how they play in the games and coaching them through their games. I mean, getting them ready to play, I find that fascinating because I like knowing about the different energy systems and what applies to what sport and what works well with what other sports. So, I see myself down the line, but I want to intern and get an idea of what it's like and what those guys actually do as a lifestyle and how they run their program here, especially this program. I've grown up in the area and always watched Cal State Fullerton baseball and the different athletic teams here. So I want to see what goes behind the scenes into those athletic teams and those athletes that participate on the teams.
So you think you'll get you're more into coaching baseball players since you were a baseball player versus a CrossFit athlete? Or is that...
That's kind of an interesting question. I honestly haven't really, besides just the general population clients that come in, I haven't really coached CrossFit athletes outside of that. But in regards to coaching baseball players, I actually kind of want to, I think that'd be cool because I understand the needs of the sport really well. Yeah. But I want to go to somewhere where I haven't really participated in that sport. For me, I see a sport like football, soccer, something that's more of a especially with football, a powerful, explosive type sport where I never really did training like that. Yeah. And I would love to train a football player and football players as a team, and kind of work in that area just because it's unfamiliar to me. I understand it to a certain extent, but I want to try to understand it a little bit more. I know we don't have a football team here, but that's just an example. I'd love to work with even, soccer, the soccer team here. I'd love to work with them and see what it's like to actually prepare someone for their soccer season. Yeah. So just a different sport where I'm not fully exposed to it or haven't been fully exposed to it.
Nice. So let's fast forward a few years as far as your CrossFit box goes. Yeah. What exactly, if somebody wanted to go in and train there, what can they expect? What kind of training or what kind of training do you run a newbie or a rookie from?
Yeah, for right now, we've talked about having an on-ramp program or intro class, but for right now, basically people that come in, they come in and they're part of the class, but our class sizes aren't super big to the point where we can't instruct them. We always instruct people on proper technique, and we always start them off with PVC pipe or just body weight movements just to make them understand how their body should move before we apply any type of weight to them. And basically assess where they're at fitness-wise and strength-wise before we really put them into doing snatches and cleans. Oftentimes when I work with an athlete, that comes in, or a person that comes in, and the snatches are something that we're doing in the workout for our strength portion, I'll just have them overhead squat with the PVC pipe, and if they can do that with, demonstrating how to properly do it, then I'll let them do a training bar, which is 15 pounds, and I'll kind of move them forward from there and get them moving in the right direction. But it's always about progression. You can't just start them off going into the full movement, because you try to teach someone snatch on the first time that they're in our gym, they're like, there's like 7 steps I need to know, but basically what you'll see at our gym is our classes are an hour long. Everybody goes through a group warm up together. It'll be relative to what the movements are in the workout for that day, so if we have enough time, we'll do some dynamic stuff just to kind of get our body moving. We'll do some sort of, like, I don't want to call it static stretching, but a little flexibility mobility drill to kind of, that's dedicated towards the movement, say some overhead mobility, just because most people that are coming in are coming from either sitting at a desk all day or doing some type of work, or being a stay-at-home mom, where you're just not you're not constantly focused on getting yourself prepped for your class, so focusing on that, getting them to have better flexibility, and then like, we'll go through the movement. Say if it's snatch, we'll cover the movement with just a bar or PVC pipe. And then we'll go into a strength portion, or quote unquote strength portion. We'll work on, either for the day, we'll work on a snatch, we'll work on a clean and jerk, depending on, what we're trying to focus on at that point in time. So that way they have a specific focus for that lift for a few weeks. And then we kind of work with that. And then once we finish, we'll do like 5-6 sets of that, and it'll be on a timed interval base, just because of keeping the time in our class efficient. It'll be like every 2 minutes that we'll do a new set or something like that. And then there'll be about 5 minutes to transition, and that's when they'll do their CrossFit conditioning piece for the day.
Okay, so that's what you guys call a WOD, right? That's when they
exactly.
go into the WOD.
I don't really use that terminology too much. I don't know why. It's just never something that really stuck with me. So I just like calling it our conditioning piece. It fits a lot better, and it just doesn't sound so weird. Even to me, being in the CrossFit community, I just don't like using the box lingo. Like, it's the gym to me. Like, I'm going there to work out. I'm not going there to WOD. Like going there to train. So like I use all the common terminology. I don't like to use the quote unquote CrossFit terminology for everything. Like, it's just
a Metcon guy.
Exactly. Like I just, it's conditioning. You're working on breathing hard and just working at a relative high intensity. So that's basically what we preach at our gym. Is always whatever you're thinking about. If you're thinking about adding more weight and you feel like you're not super comfortable with it, don't add weight. Work on maintaining consistency in your technique before you start moving up in weight. And we don't prescribe exact percentages. We don't prescribe exact weights to use. It's basically work by feel, and because they're just everyday people, like, just work up to something that feels challenging for you for the day, if that's what our focus is, and make sure your technique's good, and call it a day there. Work at that weight and be consistent there before you move up.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw you walking in with a fresh pair of Nikes, dude.
So I know within the CrossFit community right now, there's Nikes coming out with their cross training shoe. They can't call it a CrossFit shoe because Reebok and CrossFit Inc. have their agreement, so you can't use CrossFit to it. But I got my hand on some Nike Metcons. I know we just talked about that, but most call them the Nike conditioning shoes. But I actually just got these today.
Nice. We'll take a picture of it and put it on.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I've worn them for maybe an hour and a half now, but they're pretty comfortable, and they seem for the most part good. I'm gonna test them out after this. I'm gonna go work out after this. So give you guys a little feedback after that. Yeah. Cool. So there we go.
Cool. Well, so as far as academics, I mean, just generally, I mean, what advice would you start giving people who want to maybe look into CrossFit for a job or for internships or just coaching in general, really?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at it from the broad perspective of coaching and, kind of heading into the kinesiology field, because, like, a lot of people are transfer students now, but, a lot of people come out of high school, like, this is generally what I'll tell people anyways, whatever age they're at, if they're going back to school and they already have a degree, I always tell them, hey, look into kinesiology, see what it's about, like, take a couple prerequisite courses and see exactly what you learn from those classes, because there's so much room in this field to get a job. Like, it is hard, but at the same time, you're going to be able to have a lot of growth because there's so many different applications of the knowledge that you get from the Kinesis department that can be applied to so many different areas. Like just because you're a strength and conditioning concentration area doesn't mean you can go into the realm of athletic training or PT after that. Like I feel that, this may be a little biased, but going the strength and conditioning route is great. It gives you a good foundation of knowledge, and strength and conditioning can be literally applied to any population, can be applied to any person in some way, shape, or form. You have your special populations, people with special needs. Like I have a sister with Down syndrome, and I train her a couple times a week. I have a sled at my house. I have her just literally walk around with the sled and just get her heart rate up and move some weight, So it's like you can impact so many people in this field and help better their lives, Like that's really what our field's about. The study of human movement is teaching people how to understand what their body's capable of and what it's meant to do and what it's not meant to do, and just really understanding the whole idea of well-being and health and fitness. Like I feel that not everybody in the world can go down that road, but at the same time I feel a lot of people can go down that road and benefit from it and be able to help other people, and I feel that at least give it a try. That's what I always tell people is, there's a lot of different options out there, but I'll tell you just from my personal experience, it does seem biased, but honestly, I think it's a great field to go into if you're not sure, because you're going to find something that's going to basically fancy you, and you're going to be like, hey, like I can apply that in some way, shape, or form to what I've done earlier on in my life, or I've just done last week. Like I can find some way to apply it and be able to correlate it to something in life, and I feel that's where the greatest knowledge is at, and growth in knowledge is just really understanding what feels good to you. If it's something that feels like, man, I gotta sit in this class all day,
then it's not
you shouldn't be doing it. And that applies to everything, and that's what I tell people is like, hey, like if you're really just dreading going there and doing what you're doing, then it's probably not worth doing. And you should enjoy what you're doing and enjoy learning. And especially when you're talking to someone that's pursuing and going into school, like you should enjoy what you're going to school for.
Nice. Do you guys offer any internships that you're
No, we're pretty small as far as our coaching staff goes, like I said, and we like to hire within for the most part, and just people that know the people at our gym and understand our community and our culture at the gym. So we don't really post Groupons or advertisements, stuff like that, and but for the most part, if we're looking for someone to fill a position, we'll kind of talk amongst ourselves and see if we know people and see if we can reach out to people that may know other people. So, that's for the most part what we work with at our gym is we like to build a community and stick with that for the most part.
Nice. Last words, any shout outs to your peeps?
No, not really.
Any sponsorships you want to reach out to right now before you go back to
I do. I'm sponsored by the PR Cave, so if you guys, the PR Cave is actually in the area. It's in Yorba Linda. You can go to theprcave.com. They're actually a store that is revolved around your fitness needs. They can order weights for you. They can order anything basically to build a home gym. They have attire to wear while you're working out. They have shoes there, weightlifting shoes, knee sleeves, wrist straps, and stuff like that. So if you're ever in the area, it's just literally right down Yorba Linda Boulevard and Yorba Linda. You can go check that out, and they've got supplements there too. So basically anything you need, they got there. So go check them out. They got a lot of cool stuff there.
Cool. And where can people find you?
I'm on Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook anymore, to be honest, but a lot of the stuff I post and use is on Instagram. I believe my handle is my name, Collin Meeves, so COLLIN, and then _ Meeves, or Collin Meeves _ one or the other. You guys can tag me.
We'll put it on. We'll tag you on.
It's basically a bunch of just lifting and working out.
So
that's all I really post about.
People can put a picture to your face and see what you're lifting.
Yeah, exactly. So
eventually we'll find them on ESPN too. So watch out.
That's the goal in the next 2-3 years. Hopefully I end up there. So
pretty soon.
2016, get back to regionals. That's just the goal right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
Cool. Well, this is a good way to end the episode. Collins, thank you for your time.
See you soon, hopefully.
See you soon, man.
No, I'm always going to be around, man. I live in the area. So.
Right on, man.
Awesome.
Right.
Appreciate
we'll wrap
it.
it up here. Thanks, guys.